When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
A little high.
I am muted. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Meta Show. My name is Brisc Rubal. I'm joined alongside Mark Resurrectus. Today is March the 4th, 2023. Let me get my camera unmuted or unfrozen here. There we go. Now we got it. Gentlemen, ladies, you just heard 5, 10, 15 minutes ago the start of the State of the Union. Mr. Asher Elias, the Alliance Executive for the Imperium, gave an impassioned speech announcing the next big war in EVE Online. It is a war against renting, a war against Fraternity and the rest of their allies in Pappy who have been pushing to take Pureblind and the rest of the North from the B2 coalition for more than a year. Well, now those B2 folks are going to have some big friends coming to help them out. That was a pretty solid speech for a man with a cold. What do you think about that, Mark?
Yeah, I don't know how all these goons aren't fucking running through walls right now. Brisc, hello again, goons. It's me, Mark Resurrectus, your token wormhole friend. Yeah, I mean, old Asher, he, sound a little under the weather. I've been in that position before where you've been a little sick, got to be put yourself on the spot. But oh my God, I'm at full mass right now. Absolutely torqued out of my guts. I obviously have no stake in this war other than the knowledge that violence is good for everybody in the spaceship video game. But fuck me running, you goons. You got a good one. He's a good one.
This is going to be an interesting thing. So let's take a look. I want to go into detail into the speech here because there were a couple of lines that I thought were pretty well done that I want to talk about. So the first thing we have the remarks as prepared for delivery of the State of the Union here. Asher has been Alliance Executor for 7 months. 7 months he has been in charge of goons. He talks about what happens when we go through Pappy, and he talks about a lot of the things that happened at the end of the last war, which I think left a lot of us in the Imperium with a really bitter taste in our mouth. We didn't have a chance to really pound the hell out of the bad guys because, as he noted, at the end, they just decided to hastily scribble the end right here and went home in defeat of their spirit. They just wandered home after we had stomped them and said, you know what, hey, we did enough. We won the war. And of course, all of the Pappy members in the background were saying, we didn't win shit, and those types of things, because they knew that they hadn't done what they came down here to do. What they came down here to do was destroy the Imperium, make Mittani quit the game, and all of the other things that Villy and others had said they wanted to do. They never got that accomplished. So what ended up happening was they moved back north and consolidated. And as he notes, Pappy leadership didn't see the war as them losing. They had kept their power. They remained a big fish in a small pond for a few more years. And then what I thought was most interesting, he points this out later on here, that Pappy spent the last year killing and absorbing every alliance that isn't in the Imperium, which is legitimate. If you look at the number of groups, Test, for example, a shell of its former self, most of its FCs left. Many of them left and went to, amazingly enough, Pandemic Horde. Fraternity came out of the war, I think, probably in the best position of everybody. They had not really done a whole hell of a lot as part of the war effort. And the result was they were able to go back up north and keep expanding the way that they had been doing, gobbling up system after system, region after region, turning it into rental space, because they really weren't bloodied that much during the war. They lost a couple Keep Stars and they lost some Titans, but they weren't on the vanguard. They weren't the ones making the big push. They weren't the ones in charge of the war. That was obviously Legacy and Pandemic, PanFam, the rest of PanFam. The Pandas were not part of, I think, a lot of the major decisions, because in the end, they didn't take much damage. So the result was, at the end of the war, they were in the best position of all of New Eden, and they kept doing what they had been doing, which was taking up as much space as they possibly could up north. And that is really what we saw. Now, if you want to take a look at the regions controlled by Winterco, it's pretty significant. Mark, Wormhole's space seems to have similar things to nullsec sometimes, and one of the things that they don't seem to really like is big hegemony type groups. They tend to those groups tend to get yelled at. Is that correct?
Well, we have there is you know, Bushido is dead in Wormhole space. Some will tell you, but those who are still practitioners will say that multi-hole alliances, these alliances that just get big and spread out so that they can get as much action in as many different places, are bad for business. It's just not kosher, right? So you have these huge, you know, these, you're right, they're hegemons, these big octopi of alliances that just spread out and get all their little sickly tentacles up inside these holes, just slither them on up in there. And that sits wrong with the people. And I'm going to tell you the truth. One of the things that the Wormhole culture really doesn't like is the idea of renting. The idea that if you're not strong enough to control your own space, then you shouldn't have it. And if you're only holding it because you're paying off somebody in a region 3 or 4 away from you, then maybe you shouldn't live there at all. Or, you know, you should fight for it, which is what plenty of other groups have done. They fought for the space they live in. They live in as much space as they can fight over and control. They consolidate in the space that they're in. They do the best that they can to fortify their homes, but then they don't, you know, get landlordy about it. So I think is one of the big differences, right? That's one of the big differences, because if you look at Winterco, which is essentially just Fraternity at this point. I know we saw last week there was big news that that we actually, let me pull it up here, that literally Triggered was leaving Winter Coalition. Yeah. These were one of the big groups that was up there, and to be honest, you know, without literally Triggered, I mean, really, it's just Fraternity now and Winterco. They don't really have their own alliance or coalition. It's really just them. So the reality here, you've got Tenal, you've got Branch, you've got Tribute, Veil of the Silent, Geminate, all of these areas here. The vast majority of space, you know, and territory that is controlled by Winterco, they don't actually live in. This is not, they're not there to live in the space. This is rental space. And Asher made it pretty abundantly clear that renting sucks. Yeah. And they don't want renting. And frankly, if you look at our opponents, you look at Fraternity, one of the biggest renters in the game. You look at NC Dot, probably the biggest, longest term renter in the game, part of PanFam. Pandemic Horde, all of these groups make trillions in ISK from renting. Now, what is renting? For those of you who are not aware of what renting is, in EVE Online, the big groups love to bully around the little groups. And one of the things that I think has been one of the most amusing real life analogies is all these big groups basically go to the smaller groups and say, hey, that's a nice region you've got there. It'd be a shame if something bad happened to it. Mm-hmm. And essentially extort money from these little guys that just want to have their own piece of nullsec. And say, well, we'll let you have a piece of nullsec and you can have this and you can control the space and do what you want with it. But to stop us from coming in and flattening all of your stuff and taking all your SOV, you need to pay us X billions per month. And that's a protection racket. That's a protection. It's straight up. We call it renting. Renting is the nice way of saying it. The not nice way of saying it is It's a racket.
This is fucking extortion. That's the bottom line, is that it's extortion. But it became, after the loss of passive income, when CCP changed the way the moon dynamics work, so they were you were required active work, and it wasn't simply passive income that could just be siphoned off by the alliances. The alliances looked for other ways to generate income, and renting, aka extortion, became the big thing. And everybody did it.
Oh, yeah.
Goons did it, Init did it. All of the big groups that could get away with it did it. But it wasn't until the end of the last war, the end of Vietnam, when Mittani and the rest of the Imperium, at a significant loss to themselves, said, we are out of this. We don't want this anymore. This is a bullshit tactic. It's not fair. It's not good for the game. It's not good for us. We don't want to be landlords. We want to be fighters. We want to go out and do what we like to do. And the Imperium ended renting as a thing. And that was, I will tell you this right now, that was not a popular decision, because that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. Like, when you think about a lot of money, I think of two things. I think of rental income, and I think of blue loot in wormholes.
It's true. It's true.
Right?
Thankfully, Astral Eyes, in his infinite wisdom, really only saw fit to declare war against one of those two. He is, of course, as we all know, very wise, very astute, eyes on the prize, as it were. But you're right. I mean, it's a ton of money, and it's a hard thing to turn down. I mean, I've been in a position myself where the opportunity was there to, make an absolute mountain of cash at the expense of your ideals, and it's a tough spot to be in, friends. I mean, that's the God's honest truth about it. I mean, if you're in a position where somebody will say, "Listen, I'm going to give you the option to do this thing," right? I'm going to get serious here for a second. Hang on. I'm going to give you the option to do almost nothing. All right. You don't have to do anything. There's barely any work involved. And monthly, you're going to be making more money than you ever thought possible in the spaceship submarine simulator video game. And for a lot of folks, it's a hard thing to turn down, because that means a lot of your day-to-day issues are no longer issues. You know, they say money can't buy happiness. I'll tell you what money sure can fucking buy is a goddamn lot of supers. So if you're trying to restock your super fleets, if you're trying to just pay SRP, if you're trying to, expand, to grow, to make the game more engaging, then hell yeah, people will take the money. Are you kidding me? But at the same time,
can you imagine a Wormhole group actively saying, you know what, we think blue loot's bad for the game. We have too much ISK. We're just not going to do it anymore. Can you imagine doing that?
I can't. Well,
and that's why. But that's the thing. That's why when the Imperium said no to renting last year, it was scoffed at by the folks on the other side, and it was questioned even by our own internal leadership, because we're at the end of this war. This was a long war. It was a year and a couple months. We lost trillions, literal trillions. I mean, I'm talking like tens and 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s of trillions of ISK worth of stuff. All of our groups were hurting. Our income streams were in the toilet. We had war debt thanks to the war bonds that pretty much everybody put out, that let the alliances keep fighting, let the coalition keep fighting. You had to pay these back, and trying to figure out how to do this was a monumental task. And I have to say, I got to give credit to the Goons finance team, to the finance team, the entire Imperium finance team, to Darkshines in particular for Init, because what they were able to do in about a year is pay off all of this debt that was accrued over the course of the Vietnam War, and put themselves in a good position where they'd be ready to go north. Now, that being said, as Asher noted, and I'll pull it back up on the screen because I want to show you, because I think he was pretty forthright, that these guys have way more ISK than us. Way, way, way more ISK than us. Let me be brutally honest with you. Our enemy has more people than us. They have far more money than us. The smart thing would be for us to sit and delve for another year and fatten up. Some very smart people have told me we should do exactly that, Asher said. But I'm not here for that, and I don't believe you are either. And I sure as hell am not. The last thing I care about or want to worry about or do is sit in Delve while people who are crabbing go and crab more. That's great. Go crab all you want. But I'm here to fight. And the bad guys are up there, so if they're not going to come down to us, it's time for us to go to back there and see them. Now, Mark, in the lower right of the screen of you, there's something happening right now.
Yes.
Look here, Saturday afternoon.
This is the point I wanted to make. Let me do the old little, here we go. Take a look at this. Do you see this number here? Do you see, hang on. We're almost there. That, wait. There it is. You see that number there? That 3? It's been a long time since we've seen that 3, friends. The point here, that is a 3. That is a 3-0. That is not a 2-0. That is not a 1-0. We saw a lot of 1-0s last year, friends. I remember logging in one day in the middle of the summer, and I saw a 1-1 there, friends. 11,000 in U.S. time zone. Despicable. Unbelievable. Thanks in small part to, or in some part to the effort of the developers during the Uprising expansion, which put a much needed jolt into the player base. But now we're at this place where people are logging back in. Why is that? Why is it? Was there a big patch the other day? Has there been some new development? Is there some new storyline that's been released that's really driving up? No, friends, it's the players. It's the work being done by Alliance leadership, the work being done by your friends, the work being done by your enemies. When war happens in EVE Online, the game is better for it, friends. As a wormholer, I don't give a shit about your wars. I don't give a shit about your blocks. What I do give a shit about is that you're logging in, because there are more people that are logged into the game, the better the game is for me and mine and my people, the worm people. So get on with it now. Let's log in your ships, get in your dread bombs and your super fleets, move yourselves north, but specifically log in and then fight and die. All of you, fight and die. That's what you need to do. And that's what you, and I say specifically to Asher Elias and everybody else involved in the work that was set up to go into this thing. Good to you. Good on you for the work that you're doing, because EVE is at its worst when we're all just sitting around, dick in hand, doing nothing. There's nothing more that I hate about this game is when we're all just sitting in comms saying, what the fuck are we going to do next? Well, today, at the behest of the good people in the Imperium, the good people in Winter Coalition, the good people in B2, and their many friends and enemies across this game, I say good on you, boys and girls, because now we're going to fight and die again, and EVE is going to be real good. So when this number here, hang on, that number there is at 3 for not just on a Saturday, but on a Sunday, on a Monday, oh God, even on a Wednesday night, then we'll know that we've done the good work. We'll have done the good work.
I like it. Now, there are many of you that probably are wondering what's going on. Why are you guys going to war? What's the issue? What's the goal? What's all of this other stuff? Well, let me talk a little bit about that. So as Asher noted, and as I was talking about earlier, Fraternity has been pushing against the B2, now B3 coalition for the better part of a year. They are continuing to expand their space. They took out, as I noted before, they have multiple regions. They have been moving steadily across the northwest of New Eden. They are pushing up against the territory that B2, B3 controls now. They want Pureblind. They want all of these regions in the back of where these guys are. I will pull it up and show you again, you know, what we're talking about. B2 is over here. They have control of Fade, Pureblind, and Declan. It's these guys. Winterco is here, and they want all of this. They want all of this. And what are they going to do with it? They're going to turn it into rental space, because why not? You know, in fact, if they could convince B2 to pay them for that space, I'm sure they would want that as well. But these guys are not willing to do that. Brave and Volta and the rest of We Form Blob and those guys and the parts of Fire that are now up there, they're not willing to give in to fight Fraternity. So Fraternity has been fighting them for a while. It has turned into a stalemate. So what happened earlier this week, and I won't say that this is the genesis of the reason why this war is happening, but I certainly think, and Asher alluded to it, that it had a lot to do with it. And that is Gobbins announces that with the addition to Fireco and B2, which now is becoming B3, it makes that organization far more matched against Winterco and prevents them from being able to bat phone us in order to survive. I don't know about that, but I think it doesn't force them to bat phone us. But even if they were bat phoning us, I don't think we were really responding, because the reality is, at least on the Fire side, we don't like those guys anyway. And Brave and Blob and Volta had been doing their own thing, and we really hadn't gone up there other than the third party for quite a long time. So in what I think is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen him say, and that's saying a lot, because our dear friend Gobbins has said a lot of crazy stuff over the years. It makes them far more evenly matched. That's great. And then he talks about how he personally never liked how FRT went to war against Brave to grab more space and then tried to ask for our help when things didn't go their way. They didn't like that.
Yes.
So what do? Well, FRT offered a generous mercenary contract for the BFL SIG, and they've accepted it. So they sent the Bean Foreign Legion, which, by the way, just happens to be like literally every PvPer in Horde is in BFL.
Wait, what?
And Fraternity's paying them. Gobbins doesn't like the fact that Fraternity is bullying Brave and trying to take this space to turn it into rental space. But you know what? You know what solves that? That's it. You know what cures all of the things I don't like? Give me some money. Cash.
Oh, come on,
and all
man.
of a sudden I'll do it. This is
Jesus.
one of the most, I have to say, I give Gobbins credit for being honest. This is one of the absolute most blatantly mercenary things I have seen happen in a long time. They literally said, we're taking money. So we don't like that they're doing this, but hey, fuck it. The money spends, so we're going to go ahead and do it. And Asher alluded to this. My favorite, absolute favorite line in his State of the Goonion, let me pull it back up here, was down here. They are so addicted to the ISK faucet that when the leader of Fraternity came and asked Horde to help them, they charged him a rental fee for that too. That is like absolutely nuts and spot on. That's literally what happened. And I think at that point, any of us who are looking at this from an outside perspective, and I'm even just being objective, you have to ask yourself, Gobbins, how much money is too much? I mean, do you guys really need the money? You're sitting on your TTT money. You're sitting on the best crabbing and farming space in EVE Online because it is absolutely impregnable. There's no way to dread bomb. The best you can do is Shvo coming out of a wormhole with a bunch of Kikis to kill a Rorqual or two. There's no way we can hit you guys hard up there. And to invade would cost a ton of time and a ton of money, which apparently now we're finally going to have to do at some point. But in the meantime, they have been sitting up there since the end of the last war, accumulating everything. Accumulating wealth, accumulating new members, accumulating FCs, accumulating failed Pappy leaders. They've been accumulating everything, and they haven't had to spend it on anything. So now they're literally getting paid, and this is the best part. Fraternity is paying Horde to give Horde's top PvPers who are all hungry for something to do, paying them to give them content. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I think looking at this from an outside perspective, from an Imperium perspective, or even just from an objective observer, like a Mark Resurrectus kind of point of view, you got to be blown away with just how breathtakingly greedy that kind of behavior is. I mean, at least as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what do you think, Bart? I mean,
listen,
is this a greed thing or what?
It's extremely greedy, but I fucking love it. I fucking love it, Brisc. You know why? He's done the heel turn. He's done the heel turn. That's not a joke. He said, fuck it. I don't care. I want the money. Give me the fucking money. If that means I got to be the bad guy, then I'll be the bad guy. And you know what? Good. Go fucking kill him, goons. Get your little ships together. Go do your movement ops, whatever you got to do, and go fucking kill him. And when you do, log in. Because, oh my God, when the numbers are up, the game is good. So yeah, I don't give a shit. If he wants to sell out and take the money, then take the money. God damn it. I have to say, Arsoni in the chat has said something that I was waiting for, because, and Asher and I talked about this when we went over his speech beforehand, that someone was going to say, I called it rental fee, but really it's just a mercenary contract. And Arsoni says there's a difference between asking for rent and accepting a merc contract, which was offered. And that is true. There is a difference. The difference is in the spelling. That's the only difference. Yeah, I mean,
you're renting their PvPers. Maybe you're not renting space, but you're renting their PvPers, and that's literally what they're doing.
It's semantics. I mean, it's the whole, like, look, and listen, I want to be clear. I don't care. I don't care. Do what you got to do, right? Do whatever you got to do. But like, oh man, the propaganda for this war is gonna be nuts, because they're absolutely gonna spin this as, oh, the mean goons are coming up to our space and they're gonna make this difficult for us so that we can't do so much crabbing anymore. And I understand that, and I get it, and I'm down for it, because war is good. And you can clip that. I'm gonna say it again. War is good. And when wars are happening, the game is better. So yeah, fucking look, he sold out. Yeah, absolutely. Tell all your goon friends, tell everybody you know. And here's the truth. You goons of goon world, Goonland. Listen, they're gonna do the same thing. Like, these exact same conversations are gonna happen over there. I goddamn swear to guarantee it. It absolutely is going to happen. So the difference is going to be, when it comes down to it, who's willing to fight for this more? Is it you guys on an ideological basis, or is it them on a, oh fuck, now we got to maintain the wheat belt here that's keeping the money flowing? Who wants it more?
Right, and that's going to be the thing. Now, I will say this: we got a preview of what I think some of this war is going to look like on Wednesday. Now, if you guys didn't see this, so right now, as we noted earlier, you've got B3, you've got Blob and Volta and Brave, as well as the Remnants of Fire, defending their space in Pure Blind. You've got Fraternity trying to push into that space. You've got, on Fraternity side, in addition to themselves, they've got their buddies that they rented from Horde. They've got the Beam Foreign Legion, the BFL group, that is in there fighting. And we saw the first incursion, I want to say real start to push into Pure Blind on Wednesday. And the result was a pretty significant fight. Let me pull up the battle report here so you guys can see it. This was one of the first times, at least in recent memory, we've had more than 3,000 people or so on various grids at the same time. You can see here it was over 5 or 6, about 6 systems. A lot of the fighting ended up happening in KQK. At least that's where I was most of the time. Now, the result was a strategic and a tactical victory for Fraternity and PanFam. They were able to take the objective. They secured the iHub, and they were able to win the ISK war. They beat us slight. I mean, it was a slight one, but it was still significant. And we even were able to get more guys up there, and they were able to do it when they were. I don't want to say that they were significantly outmatched, but a 300-person difference in a 3,000-person fight is not huge. But they were outnumbered. So I have to give these guys credit. This was one of the first big fights that I think will probably be the canary in the coal mine for what this war is going to look like. And it started on Wednesday. So even before Imperium decided to fully deploy north to defend B3, you had in its Adeptus Astartes SIG, which is their PvP SIG, it's their version of the Beam Foreign Legion, was up north already deployed. They were deployed with dreads and with combat ships, subcaps. They did not bring supers up north because we don't have a stager for them where we were going. And the beans were already there. They had all of their stuff ready to go. So, and then they could also stage out of fraternity structures, which are right up on that border, so they could bring supers if they wanted to. So the result was you had all these numbers up here, and I think the only thing that's going to happen now is it's going to get even bigger. These fights are going to get even bigger, and we're going to start seeing more of them. I hope. That's my goal. And I have to say, this was a early EU time zone fight, which was kind of rare for us to see. It started around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eve time, 1800 Eve, or actually, I guess it's evening time. It was about, I want to say 11:30 or 12:30 Eastern time, and then it bled into late EU time zone, and I guess it went to like 11 o'clock in that time. But then it was a piece of heavy tie-dye fights. It was pretty significant, and I had a lot of fun. Mark, you missed this. This was a good fight. We had some fun, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I saw the BR after the fact. I mean, it was that's cool. I mean, it's spread out all over the place, happening. You know, we were talking in the CSM channel with Luke Annan, and after the fact said, yeah, 6 different systems. I mean, it went on for a while. And again, I cannot overstate this enough, and I know I've said it twice already, but the game is better. The game is healthier when people are logging in to fight. Yep. Right? Your FCs are going to do the work that they want to do to get these engagements happening, to seek these objectives. I mean, the alliance leadership is gonna coordinate. I mean, I'm gonna tell you the truth. It's not just in the north either. When things start popping off everywhere. Wars are happening all over space right now. They're happening in low-sec. They're happening in wormhole space right now. Holy fuck. Like the shit is absolutely gonna pop off. And this is, I mean, you're right. Canary in the coal mine, or just the first crack in a dam that's about to break. But this is gonna be it. I mean, and it'll be as big as you want it to be. I mean, every single one of these things, they're only ever going to be as big as the groups who are engaged in them. So if you want to keep fighting, if you want to keep playing the game, then play the fucking game, right? Don't sit around waiting for somebody to do something for you. Just go out and do it.
And as I've noted before, so to all of my small gang friends who always talk about Ansiblexes are so powerful. Oh my God, Ansiblexes. They go to bed at night and they see Ansiblexes in their dreams and they scream out loud. I've always said they are the canary in the coal mine. When you have a big Sov war, when you have a big war between the big groups, the first thing that dies are the Ansiblexes. And what happened today, we just lost our F7C Clown Ring Ansiblex, and it was taken out by Fraternity and Sib Squad. I mean, the new members of Panda Fam. And that was what you expect to see. This is the first. They took advantage of the fact that we were in the process of doing move ops, and they snuck in there and they took out this Ansiblex. Now, yes, we'll replace it, but in the meantime, at least for these move ops right now, it's not usable. So what I think one of the things these Ansiblexes provide is they are a first line of defense. It shows you what happens when these big wars kick off. The first thing that these guys go for is the squishy infrastructure like Ansiblexes. And that's part of what it's designed for. So I'm happy to see that. I mean, I'm not happy to see this because, hey, this sucks. It's going to make it harder for us to get through to low-sec and elsewhere if we want to go there from Clown Ring. But still, it demonstrates what I keep saying, which is this is why these things exist for Sov War. They are squishy infrastructure that generates fights in these big Sov Wars. And this is one of the first fights of this war. And it happened literally, in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, this is tearing up the train tracks, right? Or blowing up a bridge somewhere, right? They're absolutely going to go for this sort of shit. And of course they will. And that's how it's going to go. So I'm excited, man. I haven't been this stoked about something in a while. I mean, people are, and again, I say this, I've said it several times already, as this is going to translate to other places too. I mean, we're seeing more groups, starting to form up, more people starting to move back into space. As the economy gets moving again, you're going to see more churn through the higher end. You're going to see more capital ship losses. You're going to see more battleship losses, and things are going to start moving. There's going to open up a lot of room for people who haven't been involved in these things before to get involved in them again, especially on the industry side, especially on like mining side for people who are that kind of degenerate. Like this is good. This is great. I'm stoked, man. I'm fucking jacked. I'm into
Good.
it. Let's go.
Back to the tits. How you go?
Tits.
All right. Now, but we have two more things to do. First of all, if I don't let Fountain Frank get on the stream and blow V8 for a little while, he's going to shank me. So we have to have Fountain Frank here for a minute. And then I want Mark, and then we're going to end the show. I want to talk about the big news that was not in nullsec this week, but I guess it was sort of in nullsec, which was the Parabellum versus everyone fights that have been going on. Because I want to hear about that from your perspective, because I think that's interesting. Plus, we've had a lot of people that were interested in that that have been asking questions about it, including in the chat. So I'm gonna go get Fountain Frank here and get him in here so he can do his war spiel, and then we're going to talk about Parabellum, and then we're going to get out of here. So it is time for a war update with Fountain Frank.
Hell yeah.
Yes, it is time. It is time for a war.
There we go.
Holy shit.
Hello, Frank.
I haven't had to put the helmet on in forever. I haven't had to put this damn helmet on in forever. No one's been shooting at me. There's been no fighting, no wars, no nothing. This game has been boring as shit.
You've got a little soft, Frank. You've been enjoying too much time out at the links. You think you can still?
Okay.
You think you can still manage it on the battlefield?
But that's all about to change. Oh, thank God. Asher, motherfucking King Elias, has laid it down. We are going to war. We're going to fight against the greedy goblin gobbins. All he wants is money. Give me more money. Give me my rental money. Fraternity, you may rent my PvPers, but you will pay me for it. I don't like it what you guys are doing over there, but hey, you know what? You could paper that shit over with a couple billion this, let me tell you. That's what's going to happen. We are going north. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It's time. What is it time for? It's time for fights. It is time for getting your stuff out and ensuring it and then watching it go boom. We're going to go north. We're going to kick the FRT guys and the Horde guys and all the rest of pappies in the gut. We're going to kick their living guts out. And we're going to use them to grease the treads of our dreads. That's what we're going to do.
That's fucking so fun.
Gentlemen, ladies, it's time. No more pussyfooting around. No more baby. No more, I want to go crab, Profound Frank. I want to go crab. I want to go and sit in my Rockwell and mines. No. Not going to have any of these people running around wiping your little tushies. It's war. We are going north, and we're going to stay there until we win. What does winning mean? Whatever the hell I say it is. And right now, that means killing a bunch of FRT and Hordelings over and over again until it's not fun anymore, which is probably never going to happen, not going to lie. Just saying.
Frank, you need my sunglasses, man.
Mark, are you going to come and visit with us? Are you guys going to come up here? You should totally third party the shit out of this war. I'm just telling you.
Listen, I saw somebody in chat earlier describe this war not as World War B3, which I think is kind of a dumb name, even though it rhymes, but World War Third Party, which is a very good name. Frank, it's a very good name. And I'll tell you, I like a lot of things, a lot of different things that, various militaries have done in this world. And one of the things I really enjoy is when they talk about the kind of atmosphere that's being built up north right now. They call it a target-rich environment. And Frank, you know that my people, all people, are going to be looking at that target-rich environment and going, yes, sir. Yes, I will have some of this today. Please, thank you. Thank you, all of these fleets that are up here, all of these ships that are up here, all of you on deployment. I would like some of this, please, and thank you. Yes, even if we're like vultures, we will be picking on the scraps of this war. We'll make ourselves fat off the spoils of your losses, and I cannot wait. I fucking love war, dude. It's so good.
That's what I'm talking about. This is going to be fun, kids. Buckle up, Buttercup. We're ready. We're coming north. We're coming for you, greedy goblin gobbins. You can sit there counting your gold all day, but you know what? There ain't no Gringotts in EVE Online. We're going to take it, and we're going to punish you for having the incorrect decision-making processes in place that let your greed overcome your morals. Don't do that. Fraternity, we're coming for you. Hopefully, our guys will be out there fighting faster than your AI programmers can reprogram all the bots. And in the meantime, we're going to be up there kicking the crap out of everyone. I don't have any more time to talk here. I got shit to go. I got shit to do. I gotta go fuel all of my stuff and find what the hell where George parked the Titans.
Knock the dust off your Titans. Jesus.
And get going. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's war. We will see you on the battlefield. Fountain Frank out. Mark, you're gonna have to talk by yourself now.
Oh fuck, I get to talk by myself. Oh shit. Okay, well, let's see. I'm gonna look at chat. What do we got here? Goons talking about frat bots. Yeah, it's funny. I don't give a shit. Please don't make me resub. Rodrix, you should absolutely resub, man. Game's good. It's getting better. Hey Seema, how are you? Looking down the list. Ben, good to see you too. It's always weird seeing like never mind. This is a long story. Let's see, need to deliver on Bob's blessing on this warcast. You know, listen, here's the truth, and I've talked about this before. How I talked about this at CCP. Bob, as a spiritual entity, kind of lurks over the top of all of us, sort of like that kind, like a very disappointed but kind of distant father. Bob watches from afar, and he's not pleased with us right now. This is the truth. Bob sees what we've done. He sees the loot in our wallets. He sees the crab ships out in his blessed fields, and he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand why. Why are you not fighting? I've given you all of these ships. I've given you all of these tools of war, and yet you sit here. You have these paladins, these Vargers, the Golem, the mighty Dreadnought. All of them just sitting around collecting dust, or worse, being used to shoot rats. Shoot each other. What are you doing? So Bob is displeased, friends. This is not a lie. Bob is very unhappy with how things have been these last many months. But I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you what Bob loves. Bob loves fucking blood. He loves when people bleed.
That's it.
He loves to see ships explode in space. So yes, Casimir, you're absolutely right. I, as a sworn devotee, perhaps the most sworn, I'm very humble about this, the most sworn devotee of our God amongst the stars, Bob, blessed be his name, I hereby sanctify this war of aggression, of defense. I don't give a shit, but I do sanctify it because I want to see some things bleed. And I know that our Lord Bob does as well. So go forth, my friends. Go forth and make a ruckus. Do it. It'll be great.
There you go.
I fucking love it.
Mark, we were going to talk about the Parabellum. Yeah. Do you want to talk about this week, or do you want to wait till next week and we can give it in more detail? But it's up to you.
We can kick it off. I mean, we don't need to talk too much about it right now. We're going to have a lot to talk about in the next couple of weeks. But
that is correct.
Long and short of it is, for those of you who don't know what's going on, I got like one mustache here that's just like curling up. It's driving me fucking
That's
crazy.
Not fun. I hate that.
I hate it. That's
man. one of the problems with having a glorious beard is that it sometimes ends up in your mouth. It's not the greatest thing ever.
It does not feel good. Okay, so here's the deal. So Parabellum is a European group, a lot of Russian group that has they were primarily a Wormhole player for a long time. A pretty big player in Wormhole space. They are allied. They used to be allied with a handful of groups. They were in league with the group Wholesale, the group Exit Strategy, or Unchained Alliance. They have been friendly with Rusty Hyenas. They've been friendly with a group called MGLA for some others. And they have persisted where other groups that they were allied with in the past, like Wholesale, like Migla, have not persisted. A lot of those groups have folded over time, but Parabellum has persisted. And when you're a big dog like that, and they are a big dog, I don't want to lie, they are thick as hell right now. When you're in a position like that, anything that you do, any action you take, it's amplified. And unfortunately for the good people of Parabellum, the action that their leadership decided to take was to spend the last year and a half evicting 15 10-man groups from low-class space and wormholes who could barely defend themselves, and they would drop 200-man fleets on top of them that they couldn't deal with. And there have been a lot of other groups who have come to the defense of those groups over the last several years to try and even the odds, because again, you're talking about fleets of 50, 60, 70 paladins and that a 10-man corp and a C2 can't really do much about. So what happened recently is that they flew just a little too close to the sun, friends, as it were, and they went to evict a group called, I think it's called Nosferatu. I'm not positive. I may be wrong about that. My friends in Whole Control can remind me if I'm incorrect. But what happened was they went and they shit in the bed of somebody who was a friend of somebody. And in EVE Online, as in life, it's all about who you know. So this group Nosferatu is getting evicted. And Whole Control, a very famous, very drunk Finnish corp in Wormhole space, skipped all the steps of grief and skipped right ahead to evicting Parabellum, or at least one of the groups that make up Parabellum. Is some name in Latin like Eri Extraordinaire or something. I don't know the name. I don't play this game. But one of the groups that make up, one of the larger groups that make up Parabellum, and a group that had, among other things, a Dracus Fortizar. And faction forts are big targets in Wormhole space. There aren't a lot of them. And if you've got one, you have to make sure that you can defend it. Well, unfortunately, in this case, this group could not defend it because they were out evicting a 15-man C2 corp. In fact, at one point...
What a bunch of jerks, right?
Yeah. Not a great look there, Parabellum. But here's what's funny. Here's what's very funny. There was a brawl at one point early on. They tried to get Whole Control again. They tried to fight back against Whole Control and a handful of their friends who had showed up to participate in this counter eviction. We talk about counter evictions a lot in Wormhole space, where the best time to evict somebody is when they're evicting somebody else because they're not home. And that's what Whole Control did in this case. So what happened here was that Parabellum actually got a bunch of people in, like 70 tunes. They moved a ton of tunes back in. I don't know if it was through a frig hole or maybe they just got Whole Control, or there was a, whatever happened through some circumstance. They got a bunch of tunes back in. And I know that, the people I knew in Whole Control were panicking. They were in a frenzy. They were worried that this was going to be it. And, they got a bunch of tunes back in. They probably have home defense ships. They're going to fight, and maybe they might lose the eviction. And then they've lost 2 evictions now. Unfortunately for the Parabellum group that was being evicted, that's not quite what happened, because instead of staying home to defend their home hole, those Parabellum characters, sorry chat, I didn't know we didn't like saying tunes.
Can't let them make iskies on your toonies with your nitties
on your tunes
and your thannies.
All those 70 characters left. They jumped out of Wormhole and left. They didn't stay to defend it. They left because As it turns out, at the same time this was happening in Wormhole space, Parabellum's Highsec mining empire out in Heimatar was being clapped by a handful of groups. I think Absolute Order is out there.
Black Flag and a bunch of those guys were going up to hit them on that too.
Yeah.
In response to them messing with Black Flag's war headquarters 2 or 3 weeks before. So
correct.
What goes around comes around when it comes to that kind of thing.
I've seen it described, and this is a common trope. This is a pretty, this is not unique. I did not come up with this, so I wish I had. But Parabellum, like a lot of groups in the past, like a lot of groups have done in the past. I don't want to pretend like Parabellum is unique in this way, but they have been playing the game of fuck around for a long time now, friends. They've been playing the game of fuck around. They've been fucking around in Wormhole space. They've been fucking around in Highsec. Who knows where they might fuck around to next? Hell, they may come fuck around for me for even talking about this. I mean, it's possible. But
does it mean it's time for them to find out? Is that what's happening?
I think they may have already found out, because
found out already.
The blob that I want to be clear, the blob that formed of groups that had no affiliation with each other prior to this fight, the blob that formed between groups like Sugar Alliance, between Whole Control, between other groups like Outfoxed, groups like Zarna Campania were all involved in this. All of these groups that had very tenuous ties together, a lot of EU groups, but not too much outside of that. All of these groups in unison said, no, fuck you, sir, first of all, and second of all, get the fuck out. And that's what's going on with Parabellum right now. They have lost one of their wormholes. They have lost a bunch of stuff in Highsec, including their Highsec Sotillo. So what's going to happen next? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But that's what I'm saying, man. We're
going to find out.
Listen, this is what's so exciting about the fucking game. War's happening everywhere. War's happening in Highsec. War's happening in Wormhole space. And big old war is going to happen up north. And this is fucking great. This is exactly what I'm looking at. The number down over here, this number here. This
31 now.
31.
It's over 31.
31,000 players. That's crazy.
And there'll be 4 more as soon as I get off the show and can log my stuff in to start moving. So
no, I was gonna say I logged off. It'll kill my frames if I got tunes open right now. But anyway, so yes, friends, listen, war were declared, and we're all here for it. Let's go, dude. Let's fucking do it. Come on.
It is time, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the end of the show for this week. I want to thank you all for joining us for the Meta Show. I am Brisc Rubal, joined alongside Mark Resurrectus. If you missed Asher's State of the Goonion address announcing the war going north to fight against Fraternity and the rest of Pappy in defense of the B3 coalition, you can, as soon as this show is off, click on videos and pull up the VOD of the stream. I'm sure this will be probably put on YouTube relatively quickly tomorrow. We have to wait 24 hours under our Twitch terms of service, but it'll be up there for you guys to review. But in the meantime, you can watch the VOD, listen to Asher's words, and then you can watch Mark and I give our feedback and analysis afterwards. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the cusp of war. Move ops are happening right now. Fights are starting to happen right now. Looks like the next biggest thing since the last biggest thing is about to kick off, and you will be able to watch it as it unfolds on INN every week. So we hope that you will continue to join us for the Meta Show. Mark, any final words before we sign off?
Go fucking kill each other.
Correct. And in the eternal words of the Matani, eat my ass. And in my own words, as always, you stay classy. New Eat.